Good morning, good day, or good evening to all the Right Mind podcast listeners. A podcast produced by the Institute of European Rights, a think tank based in Vilnius. My name is Teodoras Žukas, and I'll be hosting this conversation. On the Right Mind podcast, we talk various issues and questions. We talk about politics, security, culture, history. In today's podcast, we will talk about a recent study published by our institute, Institute of European Rights, a study, a paper on the situation of semiconductors in Europe and what lessons the EU, European Union, should learn from US, Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. So on this occasion, we are speaking with the two authors of a study, which I will now introduce. Shota Inoue, Chief Economist and CEO at Analytica Orbis. Welcome, Shota.
Hello, I'm Shota Inoue from Analytica Orbis in Berlin. I'm a specialist of innovation and technology regarding Europe and Japan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And welcome to Vilnius and Lithuania. And the other speaker is Tom Hashimoto, professor of economics at Vilnius University and director at the Baltic Institute. Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Hashimoto. I'm an associate professor at Vilnius University, and I have lived in Poland and Lithuania quite a long time, so I'm more of the local rather than Japanese in these days.
Wonderful, wonderful, quite beautiful. So we have on our table, we have this study, this paper about the semiconductors, which is called A Way to Ensure the Future, Securing Semiconductor Supply in Europe, Lessons from United States, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. So the first question, Shota, what is a semiconductor?
That is a short and a deep question. First of all, the semiconductor has four functions: logic, memory, and power, and analog. And we can amplify the power, and we can calculate the power, and we can memorize the power, and we can sense the power. That is the core function of the semiconductor. And now,
Tom, so you could elaborate on this thing.
Yeah, now I do the longer version. Just being the professor, I'm good at teaching, I guess.
Yes.
Shota is my brain, and I'm the mouth of the organization. So, conductor. You see the word conductor, to something conduct. What does it conduct? Electricity. Electricity carries the data. So semiconductor it kind of goes through the electricity. And so that's why you can control the electric current such in a way you can store the information as Shota said, logic. What is logic? Calculation. So by changing the 1, 2, 3, you can actually count and calculate, or you can memorize the data, and you can actually amplify the power, or you can actually sense the temperature, etc. So all those activity can be done by controlling the flow of the electric current. And this is a semiconductor is not conducting fully, and this semi version is able to control it. And this is mostly used for the microchips, and the element used in the chemical element used for this one is silicon, is quite popular, and that's why we have area in the United States called Silicon Valley, that where the silicon is used.
Okay, thank you very much. So, touching on the paper that we have on our tables and that you offered, Tom, could you give a brief overview of the what's in it in the paper, what you're trying to say by this paper?
So the background is this, that the European Union has recently come up with the idea to put the semiconductor or microchips. Let's say microchips easier. So the microchip production in Europe. There are reasons why. Because the current situation is that the majority, 80% of chips are used or produced by China, mainland China, and Taiwan. Now, we don't want to think about it, but what if China invade Taiwan, just like Russia did to Ukraine? What if, for example, natural disaster hit there and the global supply chain of microchips is disrupted? And for this reason, European Union wanted to prepare for the supply chain disruption. That's the first reason. Second reason is, I don't know if any of the listeners know about this, but in the European Union and the United Kingdom and the United States, TikTok-related data leak has been a problem. So the TikTok supported by the Chinese government, presumably stealing data from the devices, and the government officials, government offices are restricting the usage of TikTok to prevent the data leak. And this is imagine that, for example, microchips used for the defense system is actually leaking the information to our enemies. That we don't want to think about it. That's the second point. Third point is, in order to make silicon enhanced or to create the microchips, it consumes so much electricity. And it's not good for the climate change, is it? Those three reasons, European Union is now thinking, say, okay, can we do something locally? So what Shota and I try to do is to look at the past initiatives done by Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and China to see if European Union can learn from them in terms of geopolitics and geoeconomics of microchips and semiconductors.
Thank you. Shota, question for you. Tom just introduced the outline of the paper, and indeed one of the most important points in the paper is sort of a in-depth analysis of Taiwan's and South Korea's sort of a policies towards the semiconductors and how to enlarge this market and how they developed their one of the strongest positions in the global market. What regards the semiconductors or as you Tom said, the microchips. So what were what is the most important points of this strategy in Taiwan? How to be the leading country in the global semiconductors market? Shota.
This is very good point of view. Taiwan is well known for the foundry business. They are centralized and sharpened into their function into the manufacturing of the silicon, manufacturing of the logic, especially for the logic semiconductor. And in the ecosystem of the logic semiconductor, design and marketing is done by United States, like AMD, like NVIDIA, or like Intel. But they can design, but production in reasonable price. Taiwan has a special technology and special know-how to provide in reasonable price and reasonable quality. That is the point. Taiwan is a strong position in the semiconductor supply chain.
Okay. Tom, would you have something to add on this?
Oh, yeah. Imagine, let's put it much in a simple way, in the sense that imagine that you have a world of Iron Man, and the Iron Man suits and those computers he can talk to. And, you can imagine that you need microchips much more capacity to handle that kind of operation. Now you think about the, let's say, refrigerator. Imagine that the refrigerator has some AI and can tell you that your egg is about to expire. That chips does not require Iron Man's capacity of chips. So therefore, you have a different types of microchips, different capacity of calculation or memory needed. So now imagine this thing one more time. You are sitting in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, one of the top mind of the global mind, and those professors and researchers going to cost you like $10,000, $20,000 a month. Do you want them to develop the Iron Man chip, or do you want them to develop refrigerator chip? And then you know the answer. So that's the thing. So research and development has been outsourced to Taiwan to meet the demand of the global demand of everyday microchips. At the same time, by delegating that to Taiwan, United States can focus on next generation, more advanced super microchips, so to say.
Okay. Shota, could you remind me, and me and the listeners, of course, could you remind us what are the main global semiconductor producing companies worldwide? There are these companies listed in the paper, but could you remind the listeners? I think the listeners, after reminding you, they will know the names because they are indeed global. But please do.
Okay. One of the well-known company is Intel. Intel is one of the biggest and the world-leading and technology-leading logic semiconductor company. And AMD is also the very big company. Both two is in the United States. And nowadays, NVIDIA growing rapidly, power enforced by the AI or deep learning. And they have a very strong IP, intellectual property, and patent regarding the CUDA. We call CUDA. CUDA is the technology for the deep learning. They cannot Intel and AMD is the two giants. However, they cannot imitate NVIDIA's technology. So NVIDIA is one of the boutique, but one of the high-end logic semiconductor company.
Yes, thank you. The other points that you, Tom, already mentioned is that the main reason for this paper was that European Union has established a sort of ambitious goal to have the quite a substantial slice in the global market to reach in 2030 to reach that 20% share in the global semiconductors producing manufacturing market. What would be your evaluation of this goal? What are the main opportunities and challenges towards this goal, and whether this goal is really, in your view, viable and realizable?
Let me answer these questions in a backward manner. The beginning with, is it realistic? Well, the numbers always can lie. So it's a question of statistics. What kind of, so for example, if we're going to have the current level of demand in the microchips or semiconductors, the current level of research and development, in that case, that number of how many percent we're going to get and so on, this could be achievable. And there is a money available to encounter these challenges on investment, especially in the infrastructure. So that's doable things. But what I didn't really elaborate in the paper because it's not in the nature of the paper, but the question is, what does Brussels imagine, or how does Brussels imagine 2030? What kind of society would it be? Now, when they are thinking about the world of 2030, ChatGPT wasn't there. That nobody knew ChatGPT. Now, the ChatGPT is dominating. I'm teaching in a university. I know the students are listening, and we know that you are using a ChatGPT for the papers and presentations. That's good. Now, are you going to ask, let's say you wake up in the morning, you're going to say, ChatGPT or Siri, can you give me the recommendation, what should I wear for today's podcast? If you start asking those questions on everyday question, the usage of AI is much higher. If the European Union is envisioning such kind of world in the future, then number of semiconductor required in the entire European Union would be much higher. In that case, percentage European Union can produce is probably much less. So therefore, question is, yes, it's ambitious. At the same time, what kind of 2030, what kind of 2035 does Brussels imagine? That's I don't know.
All right. One more point that you talk is the national policies towards the semiconductor business. And what is the current challenges where we speak here in Vilnius, from Vilnius, and what are the main challenges of national policies, and where the national policy, national government, if so, should orientate their policies towards growing its muscles in this very perspective market of semiconductor. Shota, what would be your take?
That is very interesting and very actual issues in the world. Taiwan has a very good neighbor in mainland, the mainland of China and Taiwan, Republic of China. And also the South Korea, they have the brother country called North Korea. And they are always faced on the crisis and aware of the war. And how to attract the investment or how to survive in the global stress, they choose to dive into supply chain, global supply chain. They now Taiwan and South Korea and also in Japan, they couldn't be avoid from the global supply chain of the semiconductors. And in the sense, semiconductor is one of the economic security issues for Taiwan and Eastern Asia.
Right, Tom, your take. You've talked just an hour ago in the roundtable that we had about the national branding needed in this sector too. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, sorry, if any of you listening are American or there's a love towards the United States of America, I'm sorry for this joke, but look, there is a country that the ambulance costs you $400. There is a country, the university education is not free. Healthcare is not free. There is a country, if you go to the church, there might be a crazy guy shooting at you. This is a country known as United States of America. And still, there are many, 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 many people want to live there. That's a national branding. It's bad. It's excuse my language, but a shitty country. And still, there is attraction in there. And so national branding, United States of America has succeeded in national branding and attracts so many talents. Now here's a question. Lithuania, yeah, it's a small country. People are exiting from the Lithuania quite a lot. Huge number of talents are going away. Same as in Estonia, Latvia, and Poland. But we are next to the Sweden, Norway, and Finland. We are the Nordics. And so blending is there. Now the question here is, Lithuania alone would be very difficult to achieve any of the things we have mentioned, except try to be strong and try to be unique in the sense of the research and development. So my suggestion is, or our suggestion is, 1, Lithuania as a member, active member of the European Union, engage with the discussions on the European level, including the European Parliament election, which is coming soon, so please vote, European politics, and we become the voice of Europe. We can think. That's our brain is the resources. That's the one thing. Second thing, regional commitment. We have the Baltic railways connecting the Finland all the way to Poland. That's a good opportunity to engage with more dialogue with all the Baltics. Yes, I know we don't understand the Estonian language, but we can speak English, right? You are listening to these things. Estonians, I think they can speak English, especially after the shot of vodka. Anyways, so this Baltic and the Nordic dimension of cooperation is important. Finally, as a Lithuania, this is a unique country in the sense of it's a small country and yet we survived. How we survived? Because we have a people. And here we have an alarming problem published by the OECD that our youngsters, our high school students and elementary school students, their level of education is declining. Yes, we want our kids to be free and enjoying the life, but we want them to have a strong mathematics and language capabilities so that nobody can challenge the Lithuanian integrity.
Right. Tom was in his start of a comment was rather skeptical towards the United States. I just want to disclaim, of course, that this is the personal opinion of Tom Hashimoto and not opinion of Theodoras Žukas and
exactly.
neither of our institute. So right. The one of the last questions I would like to ask you is about this past 40 years of the situation in the global semiconductors market, and what you write in the paper, very interestingly, about this shift from the what you call United States Japan's cartel that were dominating the semiconductors global market basically till the 80s, till the start of the 80s. And later, from the 80s to 2000s, this situation changed quite dramatically as Taiwan and South Korea sort of overtook the global leading positions in the global semiconductors market. So I would like to ask you what happened during those 20 years and a little bit more. How and for what kind of reasons the United States and Japan sort of diminished in their influence and in their capacity to lead the global semiconductors market. Shota, if you would like to start, and then we will ask for
Yes.
Tom's input.
No one can forecast. No one can have forecast such AI boom or deep learning boom from 2023 right now. But we, Japan and Taiwan and South Korea and also United States explored the suitable standpoint in semiconductor supply chain. And AI boom and the stock price skyrocketing is just a result. And we couldn't design how skyrocketing the market or skyrocketing the technology, but we made a industrial policy and industrial roadmap step by step. And now we realize our suitable standpoint, and it is deeply engaged into the global supply chain as economic securities. So one of the lessons learned is how to explore, how to grow up the suitable standpoint in global supply chain as economic securities.
Right. Tom?
I'm gonna go a bit holistic point of view. So
Please.
Maybe the majority of listeners are quite young, so it might be difficult to say, oh, do you remember the 60s and the 70s? But back in the 60s and 70s, Japan was known for the light industry. I would say 50s and 60s, light industries like a cotton, and that moved to the heavy industry. So Japan today as Toyota or Suzuki or Yamaha. That's the recent phenomena. And then, until the 80s, Japan was making a semiconductor which is quite affordable, not high-end, but mid-end affordable semiconductors, and that was a comfortable division of labor between US and Japan. I think that Japan started catching up towards the end of the 80s to produce high-end, not only logic, but also memory. Remember, logic, memory, power, and say again? Analog conductor. So we have semiconductor types and memory and logic. So the logic does a calculation, memory does the memorization, so the storing of data. Those one requires research and development. That Japan caught up with the United States. And remember, towards the end of the 80s and the 90s, this is the end of the communism. That means end of the global Cold War. So that means the United States, this is also after the Vietnam War, they start focusing on domestic politics and domestic growth. And here you have the Japanese competing with the Americans. And this is something the United States start worrying about. And so it was this marriage of convenience, so to say, between Japan and the United States has collapsed. And then Taiwan fulfilled in, and Taiwan and South Korea filled in this capacity because the American producers of microchips, or American developer, I should say, are still not threatened by the presence of Taiwan or South Korean semiconductor producers. And I think, as Shota said, this dynamics somewhat similar to today's dynamics because of the rise of AI. So we have unprecedented growth of the electronic devices expected, partly because of this rise of AI. And we don't know how the global supply chain will going to change. But I think that Japan will no longer, unfortunately, be part of this big tag war, so to say, among South Korea, China, Taiwan, and the United States.
Okay, that's very interesting, and that's what we know about the early 90s, when there was, and as you rightly put it, there was a sort of a paranoia about Japan, how they're seeing the growth of the rapid growth and the sort of equilibrium between the economic levels of the United States and Japan. And there were, I remember noticing those books that were written on those days about how Japan will be the new great struggle for US, how these countries will be in competition, first of all economic competition, but then, as those political scientists wrote, in the political competition too. I remember George Friedman wrote this book about that. the next century, the struggle between U.S. and Japan in the early 90s, this kind of a paradigm was really there, and then apparently this is connected with the semiconductors and these things too. That's very interesting. And the last question for you, gentlemen. The point you made, Tom, about general dependence of EU, that EU depends on China and other Southeast Asian countries, and US too, on its semiconductor sector. So the question is sort of what if really in upcoming 2 years, for example, the war would start between the China and Taiwan. You know what I mean? The listener, I'm sure don't need any introduction about China's ambitions to require sort of a Taiwan, and if the global supply chain would really be interrupted, what it would mean for the current EU's economy. Tom.
Current EU economy, that's first of all, it's going to have a difference between the national level, obviously, so that like Northern Europe definitely going to have a much easier adaptation skills shown, whether they are going to buy microchips from somewhere, or they're gonna start preparing to build them by themselves. That I don't know, but they will try to do something. Now, the South is going to have a problem. Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal would have a hard time, and then start looking for the Brussels, saying well, we have an economic problem. Isn't that the reason why European Union exists? So that kind of question, just like 2007, 2008, will be repeated. Now, on the next level, within each country, the disruption is much more obvious in suburban area. So the cities will going to show some resilience and try to adapt to the new situation. Rural area, they are not that much disrupted by the AI or microchips. But then the suburban area or secondary cities would suffer. And that going to rewrite the political dynamics. Remember, many of the listeners are political scientists or interested in the politics. Remember, cities and rural areas are the main division of political cleavage. So you're going to have one party stronger in the cities, another party usually stronger in the rural area. That dynamics is going to be disrupted because the capital cities or regional centers have a different economic experience than smaller or medium-sized cities. So then you're going to have a regional dynamics into the politics as well. And they are going to say, okay, we have a problem because national strategy of supply chain resilience is not working. What are we going to do? Are you going to help us? And that kind of global dynamics is going to be localized. So to answer your question in one sentence, global problem will be highly localized.
Okay. Shota, would you have something to add?
Yes, I totally agree with the idea of Dr. Hashimoto. And one addition, for defense or for the military or for the government, usage of the semiconductor is necessary, and it almost the limited number of the semiconductor is used for the essential part of the society, and rest of the essential like commercial or like residential usage. And also the educational usage of the semiconductor is highly limited in the case conflict between the mainland of Taiwan. That's why we don't let Taiwan alone.
Right. Okay. Yes, one more point.
Yeah, there was a joke by the Nokia saying like, don't worry, if there is a microchip shortage in the world and the iPhone is not available, Nokia will produce good old Nokia phone. I think that the kind of like flexibility is what Europe is known for so far.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this interesting talk we had. I think our listeners had heard a lot of new things about the semiconductors and how it relates to international politics and the international economy. So I just would like to remind our listeners that you were listening to the Right Mind podcast. Today we've talked about semiconductors with Shota Inoue, Chief Economist and CEO at Analytical Orbis, and Dr. Tom Hashimoto, lecturer at Vilnius University at the Faculty of Economy and Management and the director at the Baltic Institute. My name is Teodoras Žukas, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.